This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!
Hey everybody, it's PJ again, and bringing you yet another episode of Done Lite podcast. I don't know what episode this is, but regardless of what the number is, you know it's gonna be good. I'm coming to you not live from the two-story white brick edifice, the FWH headquarters in Owensboro, Kentucky. And I'm sitting here stationed in the, we call it the library studio, but it's really just a conference room with some books in it. It's not really a studio. When we call it that, studios are usually quieter, but there's an air conditioning system, so every now and then you'll hear that kick on. I'm just ruining the magic for you. Last week, we talked to a couple of Travis's cousins, because we're doing a series. We're doing a cousin series. That's the most clever name I could come up with. Anyway, so this week we're doing the same thing. We're talking to a couple more of his cousins. Of course, as I told you before, he was shirking the responsibility. He could not take it upon himself to decide which cousin he likes the most. But with him being an attorney, I think we all know which cousin he likes the most, himself. Because of that, he's given me the responsibility of sitting down and talking to his family to decide who I think is the most interesting of the six. Of course, he's number 7, and because I know him, he's the least interesting. For no further ado, let's just jump right into these interviews, which begin now.
Hello?
Lisa?
Yes.
Hey, it's PJ.
Hey, PJ. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm already recording, just so you know.
Okay.
So if you want to say anything bad about Travis, now's the time to do it. That's pretty much it. Do you have any questions, concerns?
Oh, I have some concerns.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
But no questions.
I work with Travis, and I've already talked to some of your other family members, so I can only imagine what your concerns are. We're going to start off real easy. Give me a 60 to 90 second summary of who you are.
Lisa Cotter is a wife and a mother, first and foremost, and a follower of Jesus Christ. Those are my top 3. But
all right.
I'm also a microbiologist. I would consider myself a community activist, volunteer, lover of people. I guess that pretty much sums it up.
Oh, wow. That was very succinct.
Well, I'm a very succinct person. I'm the only scientist in the group. Well, I guess my brother is a scientist, so in a way.
Well, I've already talked to Cheyenne and Ernie, and they rambled for about 15 minutes about themselves. So microbiology, is that a very specific field, or does that encompass many different things? Like when you say a microbiologist, what does that mean exactly?
My field is very specific. I'm a clinical microbiologist.
Okay.
So I study bacteria, virus, and fungus. Okay. So anything that can give you an infection, that's my area of expertise.
Oh, wow.
As opposed to a research microbiologist might be like in the environment, doing like water or something like that. I literally work on patient specimens. So
okay.
All the COVID testing's done in my lab, all of that fun stuff, all that nasty, stinky stuff is done in my lab. It's really interesting to me. We work in a microscope with auger plates and we grow colonies and they smell and it's interesting.
Well, right out of the gate, I am frustrated with Travis because as many episodes that we've had talking about COVID, you seem like you should have been on the first episode that we talked about with viruses.
Yeah, well, he forgets about me.
Apparently.
I don't know how he could. We grew up together, but
yeah,
it's been a lot of years between then and now. I don't think any of my cousins really know what I do. That might clear up some things.
Some tend to mistake nerdiness or intellect for nerdiness. So do you think maybe that's the problem? They think you're a nerd, but actually it's that your intellect intimidates them.
I don't care what they think.
Okay. Well, that's a great answer. right out of the gate.
My husband's the same way. I'm sure. When I first met him, I thought he was a total geek, but I'm more interested in people's minds. So
right.
Whatever.
Well, that's funny. I wish I'm gonna have to have a conversation with him because I wish that we had brought you on those episodes. Immediately, the question is, COVID. Was it a hoax?
No, it's not a hoax. I think we all know people that have died from COVID, so I could say
I know.
That it's
I
not a
know.
hoax.
I know a couple people who did unfortunately pass away from it, so I know it's not a hoax.
Yeah.
But I just thought that would be a funny question to ask. So, wow. Okay. Well, cool.
Well, I would hope that if anybody wanted to know the facts about COVID, that I would be able to give them truthful answers. So
let me just say this. The next time we have a pandemic, we'll have to have you on because I know it's only a matter of time before, another.
I hope not.
I hope not too, but it's already happened
terrible.
once. But I think a lot of that has to do with the CERN collider and them causing multi-universes to collide and come together and mesh. I think that's has a lot to do with it.
Speaking of the CERN collider, they're ramping up those experiments again. They just got it going again.
I heard about that.
Yes.
Why are they doing that again? Do we know? Did they even accomplish anything the first time?
Well, for the sake of science.
Well, for the sake of science is the plot device for every Jurassic Park movie.
That's right. Exactly. And hence COVID, right?
Right. Ian Malcolm would probably have something to say about that, but
exactly. And here we are.
I know. But truthfully, I'm one of those individuals where I'm like, if they bring back dinosaurs, I think they should do it. Just because it would be cool. Oh, absolutely.
You really want a real life Jurassic Park, huh?
I don't know about a full Jurassic, like a full, I guess
you could be the first visitor.
Jurassic Zoo. Then maybe it'll be a little more contained and less dangerous.
You saw the movie, right? I saw all the movies.
I don't think they should bring back every dinosaur.
Nothing scarier than Jurassic Park movie.
If they could just bring back like a brontosaurus, that would be enough for me. Because then it's like, in the future when cows don't exist and let's say like lions and
we
cows.
can eat them.
Right.
Yeah.
But like if lions and cows don't exist one day and then someone's like, hey, we can bring back an extinct species. It would be like, let's bring back the cow because the chances of a cow killing everyone is going to be very, very small.
Right.
So it's the same with, I'm assuming, a brontosaurus. Unless you get stepped on, the chances of it trying to eat you are minute.
What, are they vegetarian?
From what I'm to understand, yeah.
Yeah, I am not a dinosaur expert, so I can't help you there. Sorry.
Right. Don't take everything I say, though, as any kind of science because it's you're going to put yourself in a bad situation. So... All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump right into these questions here.
Okay.
Why is it so difficult for women to apply mascara with their mouths closed?
Well, you can do it with your mouth closed, but if you have your mouth closed, you have to pull your eye down. I think it's because you have to stabilize the eyelash somehow by making your skin tighter, the muscles in your... Because otherwise you're going to blink and it's going to be everywhere.
I got
It's going to be a complete mess. So,
right.
Yeah, you have to put those eyelashes in place so you can touch them. Otherwise, you're going to blink.
This one struck me because not too long ago, my girlfriend and I were headed somewhere. And Leslie's sitting next to me and she was doing her makeup in the car. And I noticed when she was putting on her mascara, she had her mouth like in this kind of a form.
That's the way you do it.
And I was kind of watching her and I'm like, why is she making... I mean, I make weird faces and I don't really have a reason to do it half the time. And I just remember thinking like, why is she making that face? Does she know she's doing it? Like I was asking myself, but I didn't ask her. I was just...
She probably doesn't know she's doing it, but you have something about having your mouth open keeps you from blinking. Okay. And I don't know what that is all about, but that's why. I almost wonder if it's like an instinct.
Right. It's that primordial part of the feminine makeup where when the cave women were putting makeup on.
I think we ought to have you and Travis do it on the show.
Put mascara on?
Yes, and see who blinks. If you can do it without making a mess. And you could try it with the mouth open and without the mouth open and see what happens.
I'm going to tell you right now, I have asked Leslie before, I'm like, do you worry about getting that in your eye when you're doing it? How do you not get it in your eyes? And she's like, oh yeah, it happens sometimes. But I would get it in my eye probably every time. And I have a thing about my eyes, like I can't open my eyes underwater.
Well, try it.
So trying to put mascara on, it would be a disaster.
Well, you should try it and see what happens with your mouth open. But I will tell you, did you know that you can now get permanent mascara? They dye it just like they dye your hair. You can dye your eyelashes.
Really?
Yep, it only costs $20.
I mean, the closest thing like that I wear is women's underwear, but that's a whole different topic.
That is a different topic. Yeah. Oh, boy.
Moving on.
Oh, boy.
What is the most spontaneous thing you've done lately?
My husband and I do a lot of spontaneous things. In fact, that's kind of why we like each other. We get bored easy, and we tend to just take off for no reason and go crazy places. Recently, we were bored, and we went hiking, and we didn't have much time. We said, let's just go to the closest state park to where we are. And it was actually in southern Columbus, okay?
Okay.
Never been there before. I can't even tell you the name of it. We went down there.
It sounds very special.
It was literally like a 0.7 mile hike or something. And that was out and back 0.7 miles. So it was very short. And we were done in 15 minutes. And
right.
We said, well, that was an experience. And we said, I wonder what else is going on around here. So we Googled it. And there was a winery. And I said, oh, there's a winery. Who knew? Let's go to the winery. Now, mind you, this is southern Columbus, Ohio. So we went into this winery and they said, well, for $5, you can get samples of all of our wine. And I said, well, that's a deal I can't turn down. We taste tested. Every single one of them was undrinkable. Now, I won't tell you the name because I don't want to. They were very nice people.
Because you want other people to experience their crappy wine for themselves.
I want other people to have this experience. And literally, then I felt bad because I didn't want to buy any of them. And I told my husband, I said, listen, we got to buy something here. We can't just leave. So we ended up buying some cheese. The cheese was good. But I felt a little guilty because I didn't buy the wine, but we do things like that. Like, let's just go see what's going on. And we just go places and just check out all the little mom and pop things. We just walk in places and like a Deliverance kind of places and just check them out. We actually went to this place called One-Eyed Bob's once.
What kind of a place is that?
His brother was playing football. He was in the championship. It was down on the river somewhere, on Ohio River in southern Ohio. And we wanted to stop somewhere and get something to eat after the game. And it was this little town. If you blink, you'd miss it. And it was the only place in town. It was called One-Eyed Bob's. So we went in there. It's like when you walk in, everybody turns around and looks at you.
Oh, yeah. I've been to those places.
It was an interesting place. They didn't have much. They had a lot of alcohol. Very little food.
Because that creates things to do.
Yeah, well, we get ourselves into situations, but we meet very interesting people.
I like that because I don't get to do that very often, but I do like going on those little day trips to places that I've never I haven't really been to. Not too long ago, Leslie and I took like a random day trip to Garden of the Gods. While we were there, it was the second time I had been there.
Wait, that's in Colorado? Where is that?
No. The one that's in Illinois, the pretend one. The one in Illinois is really nice too. It's like sheer cliffs and all these rock formations and hiking and all. And you can get to this one part where you're like looking for like 100 miles over this forest. It's really cool. But yeah, it was the first time Leslie had been there. And so while we were there, we hiked, walked around, had a picnic and that kind of thing. And then it was only about midday and we were like, oh, I wonder what else there is. Same situation. Wonder what else there is to do. And I got on Facebook for a second and somebody had mentioned some little one stoplight town about 35 minutes away. So we punched it into the map and headed out and we went there and they had this big cave down on the riverfront and it's kind of their claim to fame and you can go walk inside the cave. You don't go in real far, but they'd shot movies there. Walt Disney was in there when they made like Davy Crockett and I mean it was really, really funny enough, though, none of that was on the historical plaques and markers that they had. It was talking about how criminals used to use the cave to lure people in to kill them and rob them.
Oh, wow.
But they never point out the fact that like Jimmy Stewart made a movie in there,
Right.
or Walt Disney had been in the cave.
You never know what you're going to find on those little adventures.
That is true, and those are a lot of fun. I wish I could do that more. Unfortunately, I'm not a microbiologist, so Travis won't let me. He makes me he just makes me do the podcast. This is a fun one.
Okay.
Have you ever eaten dog or cat food?
I have not, but my daughter has.
Okay, so what are the circumstances there? Why did
And
she?
I'm pretty sure that Shane has too. Well, she was a baby, and the first thing that she wanted to do was crawl over and get in the cat food. And the next thing I know, she's over there eating it.
Oh, wow. Well, at least she doesn't remember it then.
No, but I have a picture.
Oh.
And everybody makes fun of me because your kids eating the cat food, and the first thing I did was take a picture. So I guess that's a bad parenting moment there.
No,
but.
I disagree. I think that's exactly what you should have done.
So, but I had to be able to prove it to her later.
Right.
Yes, you did eat the cat food.
Well, I've eaten both. It was we were playing Truth or Dare, and that's how that happened. Dry cat food is disgusting, but Beggin' strips are delicious.
Were you playing it with Travis? Because it sounds like something he'd do.
Oh no, I was much younger.
Okay.
I was like it was like middle school, I think, whenever I
Right.
did this. So I probably would eat a Beggin' strip now because I mean they taste almost exactly like beef jerky. At least that's
There
how
you
I
go.
remember it.
They don't taste like bacon?
Not really. At least what I had didn't. My taste may have changed since then, so I don't know if it would be as
If Shane says he didn't eat the cat, I don't know if it's cat or dog food, but I'm pretty sure he did when he was 3 years old. I remember it.
Would you take a lie detector test with a loved one asking the questions?
Yes, because a loved one would not ask me things that would make me look bad, right? If they really loved me.
I think in a perfect world, that's the idea.
But I wouldn't want to take it with somebody that didn't love me.
I was going to say, if I was, well, it's a good thing you're not my sister because the things I did to my brother were pretty bad. So he would have a completely different outlook on this question. He'd probably say no.
Or one of your kids. Could you imagine?
Well, I had a situation with my oldest yesterday. He called me a verbal abuser because I talk trash about him all the time. Is what he
Yeah,
said.
of course. They always think they're being verbally abused. Wait till they get in the real world, right?
I try to explain that to him, but he doesn't listen.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just have to figure it out on their own.
Yeah, I try not to lie for the most part, but maybe there are a few things that I wouldn't want certain people to know.
So if someone made a movie of your life, what actor would play you?
Meg Ryan.
Oh, why Meg Ryan?
Well, because my husband loves her.
Is Meg Ryan his hall pass?
I guess so. He always said he thought I kind of looked like her.
Okay.
She's just fun and spunky, and she's, older. I guess if it was somebody younger, you might go for, who was the girl that did Legally Blonde?
Reese Witherspoon.
Or it might be her. Yeah, if it was somebody, if you needed somebody younger. She's always just kind of spunky and fun and bubbly, and yeah.
What conspiracy theory do you think might actually be true?
Oh, I think Jeffrey Epstein was definitely murdered.
So you think he was killed by some kind of a higher power?
I can tell you who did it. Not who actually did it, but who had it done. Well, there's probably a list with a few people on it that had it done, but I can tell you that he was
The Clintons are on there, I'm
definitely
sure.
murdered. I don't think that's a conspiracy. Yeah.
There are some conspiracy theories to me that are pretty ridiculous, but there's other things that take place that just seem too good to be a conspiracy theory.
Exactly.
Like the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, because it's like,
Yeah.
he's in prison. He's getting ready to name a bunch of very powerful people who are connected in
Yep.
sex trafficking, and somehow he commits suicide, and around the same time, the security cameras conveniently don't work.
I'm not buying that for a minute. There's no way.
But the problem with that is that it's like one of those things you can't really prove it. They're going to get away with it. But then the thing is like this Maxine, whatever her last name is. I mean, is the same fate going to befall her?
Probably. If I was her, I'd be fearful for my life.
Right.
I mean, she needs to go into hiding.
I mean, if something doesn't happen to her and she names names, then that kind of puts things into question as to whether or not he may have actually killed himself, because then if she somehow manages to get, but then again, he may have been higher up the chain and she's a nobody.
Yeah, well, she's not, I don't think she's stupid. I think she'll come out of this very well. She's not going to name names. She's just going to collect money from them for the rest of her life.
Right.
That's what, if I was her, that's what I would do.
And then they'll go on to make her movie, and Meg Ryan will play her, and it'll be made by Hallmark. So
Made by Hallmark. No, probably Netflix would be my guess.
Oh, that's true. What's one of your guilty pleasures?
Pleasure. Am I allowed to say that on the air?
I think so, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it kind of depends on what it is as to whether or not
well,
I have to beep it out, but
I like to get massages.
okay.
And I wouldn't have said that 10 years ago, but now sometimes it just has to be done.
Do you think it's because there's a stigma around that? Because immediately people think varied things about massages?
No, I went down a list of things before I picked that one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I like to eat popcorn in front of the TV. That's a guilty pleasure,
I don't
too.
think there's anything to be ashamed of.
I
mean, I like to watch bad movies over and over and over again. I mean, that's one of my guilty pleasures.
Well, that's a good one. I don't think anybody's going to say anything too incriminating on that one.
2 more questions left. What are
Okay.
3 things you could buy at the store that would make the cashier give you a weird look?
Well, I think anybody that goes through and buys baggies and balloon gas would make somebody give a weird look. I don't know. You see that all on all those TV shows, and people are buying all that stuff, and they're going to commit a crime, and nobody stops them. Nobody says anything. Like, if you want to hang yourself, you go buy rope and something, and nobody says anything.
Right.
I think some of that, somebody ought to question some of that stuff.
You
But
go through Walmart and you're like, oh, a shovel, a bag of lye.
yes, that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff would definitely, or would hope, would get questioned. But I bet you they wouldn't.
Right.
People don't say anything. Yep.
So I've talked to Cheyenne already, and her and I are similar in that neither one of us have couth. I don't really get embarrassed. I'm pretty much an open book. So for me, this did happen to me early on. So after I got married, but I went to Walmart and I bought, I'll just say condoms.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was like really embarrassed when I bought them. So I grabbed a movie to hide them with, and it was Finding Nemo.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah, so when I went through the line, I'm buying like a Disney movie, and yeah. So I got a very weird look from that.
Yeah.
Because it's probably not items you see purchased together.
It's always more embarrassing when somebody you know comes up in line beside you.
Right. And I mean, I was only being safe. And really, it was just to prevent pregnancy at the time. But
Right.
last question, and this is more of a serious question. What's your favorite memory about Grandma's house?
My favorite memory with Grandma was every year she and I would get together and make cookies. And we did it every year from when I was 16 to 21, maybe. So all through college, high school and college, we would do Christmas cookies. And we did fudge and we did cutouts. And the first year that we did it, we were so sick from licking our fingers. We frosted like 10 dozen cutout cookies. And we would lick our fingers in between, and we ended up, the two of us, kind of not feeling so well. So then the next year we said, we're not going to do that. We used like towels to wipe our fingers on, but we would make fudge and we would mess it up and we'd dump it in the trash and we'd start over. And we just had so much fun, and we'd do it the whole day, maybe 2 days, and I'd spend the night. But we did it every year when I was learning how to cook and make things, and she taught me how to make all those things. And then when she died, she gave me her rolling pins.
Oh, wow.
And it was such a special memory for me. So I have great grandma's rolling pin and I have grandma's rolling pin. She gave me 2 rolling pins. So
that's awesome.
That's just super special to me.
Thanks to you, I now am, I want some fudge.
There you go.
And I don't need
There's
it.
nothing like it. Yeah, we did popcorn balls, and then we'd make a little tin for all the family, all the cousins in there. We'd make a little tin for their family.
Right.
So,
Oh, that's really
and
cool.
we'd pass them out. Yeah, it was fun. We need to have a reunion down there in Owensboro so we can all meet you.
We should do it. I'm all for that. We'll do it at Travis because I haven't been to Travis's new house. He's too embarrassed to have me, I think.
I think you're great. I appreciate you doing this.
No problem. I appreciate you.
Actually, this is real quick. I just thought of it. We have a thing where we had more countries than we had states marked off. Okay. And we decided we needed to work on getting the states marked off. So we've been working on the states for maybe the last 10 years, getting all the states, going to all the states.
Right.
And we're down to 2 states left. And we're going to crank them out this year, but it's Arkansas and Mississippi. We're not too excited about that.
You're not too excited about marking them off?
I'm not too excited about Arkansas and Mississippi. Have you ever been there?
No, I was thinking like you're not too excited because once you have them marked off, you're like, that's it. We've been to all the states. Turns out it's just those are the last 2 you've been to because you're worried they're going to suck.
Yeah, that's what we're worried about. Was when we just did not too long ago, North and South Dakota, and we took our kids with us.
Right.
And they said, my daughter, you'd love her. She's funny like you. She said, my regular life is better than this vacation.
That does sound like something I would say.
I mean, I feel like it might be worse than that, so I don't know.
Wow. Well, hopefully you pick interesting places to go there. At least the one interesting place that they have.
Well, I'm not sure. It's going to be spontaneous. I'll tell you that. We're just going to get in the car and drive.
Right.
See where we end up, because that's what we like to do.
Just do this. Just drive into the state and then turn around and go into another state that you like better. And then you could still say you've been there and you can mark it off.
No, there's a lot of rules involved in this.
Okay.
Okay. It can't be an airport. You can't just drive through it. You have to have an event or a meal. So if you stop and pee on the side of the road,
that doesn't count.
That is not an event.
Okay.
But if you get arrested, that's an event.
All right, cool. Well, I'm going to have to hop off here because I'm actually talking to Shane next. So
sounds good. Hey, it's great talking to you.
You too.
Hello,
Shane.
Yes.
Hey, it's PJ. Travis said I have to be weary of you because you tell a lot of tall tales, is what he says.
Well, yes, I probably do. There's a few of them, maybe.
He said between everybody, it's a toss up between you and him.
Oh well, he's older than me, so he might have me. I keep a lot in my journal. I don't tell everything. Great.
So most of these questions we'll probably lose brain cells discussing. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Right. Well, just to let you know at the beginning. Now I'm not the smartest. Definitely, I think I'm going to win the most interesting.
Well, I'll be the judge of that. All right, so just right out of the gate, give me a brief description of, and this should be an easy one, who you are.
Who I am. All right,
Yep.
Well, I'm Shane. I am 49 years old. Birthday's April 2nd. I am married to a loving wife.
You forgot her name. It's okay.
Oh, my wife, Christy. Well, when I got married, I know I broke a lot of hearts because everybody in the place was crying. So I broke a lot of girls' hearts. So Christy's probably got to be the luckiest girl, there is. So, definitely.
Would she say that?
Well,
we'll have to bring her on the podcast and find out.
No, she's upstairs. I come down to the basement, so I got to do this radio thing. So, like I said, like Travis said, I've been in Advanced Auto Parts. It's a distribution center up here in Delaware, Ohio for 31 years. And I enjoy any outdoor activities. I mean, I enjoy mowing. I enjoy hunting deer, squirrel. I fish. I hunt ginseng. I hunt arrowheads.
Oh, wow.
I get into metal detecting old farmhouses and look for old coins and keys and whatever I can dig up out of the ground. So I'm always trying to do something. I don't think I'll ever get bored in my life. I won't sit around. So I'm sitting here right now and I'm looking at probably 350 antlers that when a white-tailed deer in the spring, they lose their antlers. That's why they're called antlers, not horns.
Right.
Horns stay on. But and I walk around, like a lost puppy and look for these things.
Huh. So you collect antlers?
Yes.
Wow.
That's it. I mean,
that's very serial killer of you.
Well, it saves a lot of tractor tires for the farmers when they run over the field.
That's what every serial killer says.
Exactly. One of these days, who knows what might happen.
So what's the coolest thing you've ever found doing metal detecting?
Actually, me and my youngest boy, we were metal detecting at one of the first schoolhouses in Chesterville,
very cool,
Ohio, up here where we all grew up here, this area. And we found a 1797 penny. It's about as big around as a half a dollar. I mean, it's huge. They're called large cents, but that's definitely our oldest find. If
you could be best friends with a celebrity, who would it be and why?
Blake Shelton.
So you're a fan of The Voice?
Yeah, I watch it a little. I don't watch TV.
Right. You could tell I'm a true Blake Shelton fan because that's the first place I went.
You know what? Let me change that.
Okay.
Blake Shelton probably number 2. I guess hit me. It would probably be Hank Williams Jr. I grew up listening to him for years, and it would probably be him. I like to sit down along a creek somewhere and maybe throw out a fishing pole or cook some biscuits and gravy or something in the morning and go squirrel hunting with him.
Right.
But
okay.
Sit down and talk to him. But it would definitely I would say Hank Williams Jr. would be my number one. Yes.
So you appreciate the simple life. That's what I'm taking away from that. So what's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
We used to play this little game at work, like Survivor. It was more like a Fear Factor game, and people would bring stuff in. And this guy brought in a jar of squirrel brains in strawberry milk.
Yikes!
We tried that, and it was the worst thing I think I've ever eaten in my life.
If you were to try to compare it to something flavor-wise,
oh my goodness, it was like the texture was very chewy. And then the thought of it, I don't want to compare it to as in actually the.
Sounds like you have PTSD.
Yeah, it was definitely the nastiest thing I've ever eaten.
Yeah, see, I don't think I'd be able to bring myself to eat that. I tried, last year, I tried frog legs for the first time, and I about threw up.
Really?
Yeah, it was so gross.
Oh.
In Illinois, they have this place called Garden of the Gods. Well, about halfway between here in Owensboro and there's this mom and pop restaurant I'd never heard of before in my entire life. So on the way back from Garden of the Gods, we stopped there to eat because usually you can get great food. Now, their food was good, but the person I was with got frog legs and I'd never tried them before. And I went to bite into it, and it was like as soon as I bit into it, the fried batter and everything kind of broke apart, and there were all these veins and stuff. And then the texture and the flavor was awful.
I can't believe the flavor was bad.
And I just about threw up.
Now, so I eat frog legs whenever I can.
Really? Oh, it wasn't for me.
Frog legs are really good, and a lot of that's in the seasoning. But like you said, they got the texture is it's kind of like, I don't know, it would be gristly, but like you said, the veins and stuff like that are right there.
I'm a macaroni and cheese kind of guy, so I don't do much gamey. I think like deer jerky is probably about as gamey as it gets for me.
Really?
Which I do enjoy, like deer sausage and stuff like that. I like that.
Right.
I did try raccoon once. It was really greasy, but it wasn't too bad.
Right. Yeah.
I had the chance to try black bear, but I didn't. I don't know why. I kind of beat myself up over it now because I wished just so I could say I tried black bear.
Right.
But yeah, for some reason, those frog legs.
Wow.
Could not do it. It was too gross.
Yeah, I've had the coon and I've had the black bear. I go to a wild game supper every year, and we have caribou and moose and we had red stag one year there, and wild boar and pheasant, and
right,
alligator tail and stuff like that. So I'm into all that stuff. I'll try about anything.
I will, within reason. Okay, so would you rather have no arms or no nose?
No nose. If you didn't have no arms, it'd be really. You couldn't do a lot of things.
Right.
Everything might taste good if you didn't have a nose.
That's true. I might be able to eat frog legs.
Well, the texture will hurt you, but yes, exactly. Especially if it looked like Travis's nose. He's got a pretty good. He's definitely got the Holtree nose. He's got the Holtree honker on him. Trust me.
You're the second one to bring that up.
Yeah, out of all the cousins, he's definitely got the honker. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I think. We could all chip in for Christmas and get him like, some kind of plastic surgery, maybe.
Yeah, we could do that. Maybe.
All right. Should a person, and this is going to be an interesting one. Should a person about to be executed in the electric chair be saved if they had a heart attack? They're on death row. They're about to be executed, but they have a heart attack and they die. Do they be revived?
Yeah, if you could revive him, then let's shock him.
Yeah.
It's
a very, very telling answer.
I've seen the Faces of Death movie, and they show the guy in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen them or not.
Yeah, I've seen the first one, and then a couple like the offshoot.
And I don't know if the first one has the guy in the electric chair or not.
I don't
Where they put
remember
tape
if it
over
does
his
or
eyes. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been so long since I've seen them. But yeah, I would say yes. Let's revive him and then let's shock him or her, whichever one it is.
What's interesting about this question, and I don't know if this is true, but I'd have to actually talk to someone who works in a penitentiary. What's that word? Penitentiary? Penitentiary.
You don't. When it comes to that stuff, see, that gets way above my head. Them big words like that.
I'm usually really great with words, but I'm brain farting on penitentiary. Penitentiary.
Penitentiary, yeah.
In a prison, we'll say that.
Prison, yeah.
I've heard that that once you die, if you come back, they consider that having served a life sentence because you died.
But the heart attack would say, you didn't die for the reason you were there. I mean, that was if it happened before that.
That's true.
So I don't know how that would be an interesting question, how that would work.
I've heard that's why a lot of the time they'll give someone, I mean, obviously if they've killed multiple people or whatever, they'll give them multiple life sentences, but sometimes they'll give them multiple life sentences anyway. And I hear that's because of that if something happens.
Oh, so they get another.
Right. They're still in prison because even if they live that, they survive that one sentence.
Right. Yes. They're still on death row and doing that. Yeah.
All right. So changing gears, is it just pleasantries or do you really want a stranger to give you an honest answer when you ask them how they are?
Well, a stranger. That's interesting.
Because you see someone on the street and you're like, hey, how are you? And almost immediately, I think we all go, good, you? Good. And then we move on with our life.
Great, how you doing? Right.
We're not always good.
Yeah, the next person they can say, no, man, I've had a crappy day. And then you might get someone like that to start up a conversation.
Right.
But I would hope for an honest answer.
Okay.
I would definitely hope for an honest answer. You might end up meeting a good friend that way.
I love that you want to know a total stranger, but you want to make sure that the criminal is revived and put to death.
Right.
We've seen your good side and your dark side all just back to back.
Right.
Do animals have the ability to commit suicide?
No. Nope.
Not self-aware enough?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I don't believe that now. I don't think once a deer stands there along the road and think, you know what? As soon as this car comes a little closer, I'm jumping out in front of it and just ending it. I don't think they think that way.
It seems that way sometimes.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. I mean,
I'm pretty sure this squirrel wanted to die. That's like,
right. I swerved on the other side of the road and it still ran under my truck.
Right. It's like they had plenty of time to cross the street, but they wait until right when I'm there to cross.
Exactly.
That was intentional. Have you ever seen a ghost?
Oh, man, this is a good question. I like this because actually I have. Now, this ain't no fib either. I still have a good friend, and he had an aunt commit suicide in her house or in his house. There was one evening I used to go there a lot, and his dad lived there by himself, and then he would stay. He stayed with his dad, but there wasn't no mom or there. So I was coming back to my friend Tracy's house. And I don't know where him and his girlfriend or whoever his wife said, I think it was girlfriend, where they were at. And his dad wasn't home either. So I went in and I went down and they had a tri-level house, basement, then a floor, then an upstairs, but it was all in one little section there. So I was downstairs watching TV. I was having a few cocktails and I went up to the fridge to get me another Bud Light, opened it up, turned around, and I looked up in that hallway upstairs and there stood somebody. And it was just a silhouette of a person, and I just kind of looked down and closed my eyes and looked up, and it was gone. And I don't know if it was that lady, her name, or what. I never met the lady in my life, so I went back downstairs, and I wasn't in deep into the cocktails. Trust me, I had a few.
Right.
That was back in my younger day. I could do a little better than I could do now, but and I turned the TV up real loud, and I sit there, and then that was the first thing I told my buddy when he came home, and he said that his dad has seen the same thing, a silhouette of that.
Right.
So, but I don't know if I was a spirit or a ghost or what it would be. I still talk about this day. It was weird.
So do you believe in ghosts?
Absolutely.
I do too.
And I don't know if I'm considering a ghost and a spirit the same thing. You might see a little bit of a haze or something in a room or something, but yeah, definitely.
I agree. I mean, the science is still out. I mean, it's one of those things where you almost, I don't know. Did you listen to the episode where I talked about finding faith?
I have not listened to that one
Okay.
yet.
Well, the reason I even bring that up is because one of the things that I've learned, with finding faith, with someone who's very analytical, that was one of the things that really made it difficult for me to really open up and kind of listen. Once I kind of started letting go of some of that and really paying attention to things is when I started having experiences that I could not explain, like feeling the Holy Spirit. And for someone who hasn't experienced that, trying to explain that to them is really difficult to do.
Right.
So an extension of that I've found is that I've experienced the paranormal in the past and I've seen ghosts. If you talk to someone who has not seen a ghost, it is really difficult for them to wrap their head around what you're trying to explain to them.
Right.
Because they've never experienced it themselves. So that's one of those things where it's like someone almost has to experience seeing a spirit for it to be something that you can really believe in.
Yeah, you agree.
I've seen, like you said, a silhouette. I've seen a ghost before. I'm assuming that's what it was, but I mean, it looked like a person standing there, and they looked as solid as anybody that you know is real, that you're having a conversation with, like right in front of you.
Right.
But the circumstances in which they took place, it's like it wasn't someone, because it was like the middle of the night. It was in my apartment. You know, it wouldn't have just been someone standing there unless they broke in. But then one second they're there and the next second that they're gone. But I'm looking at them and I can give you details and tell you what kind of clothes they had on and all that. So unless I was suffering from schizophrenia momentarily, I really don't know what else to call it other than it was a ghost. All right, 2 questions left. How would you want to be remembered?
I'm hoping I'm a good or great person. Someone who put a smile on everybody's face whenever I could, and I hope I didn't make too many people mad or think I was an old grouch or anything like that. But hopefully a person that lived well and did the best he could on this world and treated everybody with respect and definitely made a little bit of a, hopefully in my journal, I hand down a lot of information that I've learned over the years throughout the outdoors and all that.
So do you only have a single journal, or have you been writing a journal for a long time and it encompasses a whole bunch of books?
I don't write at all. It's just stuck in my melon. That's my journal.
Okay. So when you're saying my journal, you're not referring to a physical journal.
No,
you're talking about
my melon.
Okay.
That's what I call my journal. Like when I play a game of poker, I'll sit down and someone will bluff and they'll, gotcha. I'll say, I just put that in my journal. I'll remember that next time, and it sticks there. So I'll get you back, So that's what I always say. I always say, put that in my journal, or, it's in my melon.
I got you. Okay.
Which I probably do forget a lot of stuff the older I get.
My journal is very scattered and probably the spine is falling off at this point.
Yes, I might be the only one that considers that as their journal. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a big.
I've never heard that before, so it's interesting.
I'm not a writer, so or I don't read a whole lot, but every now and then I do. If it's a Antler book or something, or an artifact book, but I won't sit down and read, Hardy Boys or anything like that.
I mean, I know Travis has to do it for his work because and that's the thing. Like I'm sitting in the library right now, and there's just so many books because of all these laws and presidents and everything else that's been put into effect. And that's one of the questions I asked him early on because I'm like, how do you remember all this stuff? Like, because it's
right.
There's so much that goes into law, even personal injury. He's like, it's a lot of reading. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's a good thing I'm not an attorney because I don't like to read.
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely passed that down between my boys because my boys don't read either. That was one of the struggles in school, man. I'm like, well, you don't have to. Dad cannot help you on this. You can't, because I can't comprehend a whole lot on that. But
what's your favorite memory about Grandma's house?
Wow. Grandpa was sitting in his green chair, and we always had this closet. It was a toy box closet, and we had our toys in there, and we'd pull them out, and we'd play in that closet in the dark. Me and my sister was in there, and Grandpa would come over, and he would put his foot up next to the door, and then we couldn't get out. We'd be hollering, hooping, hollering, and he'd run back in the chair, and we'd run out and say, "Grandpa," and he's like, "It wasn't me." So this happened like 3 or 4 times. So the next time I grabbed my sister, I said, "Come on," and I faked like we went in the closet and shut the door. Clunk, the door shut.
Right.
And we ran into the bedroom right beside it. So he walked over and he put his foot to the door and he stood there. And he stood there, no holler, no hooping and holler, no one hollering at him. He kind of twisted the doorknob to make a noise so, that we would think he was holding it. And the next thing you know, he looks down to the right and there's 2 heads looking up at him laughing. Me and my sister. So that was probably my favorite memory of the house that we that I did there. Definitely. It was definitely fun.
All right. Well, at this point, that's pretty much it.
What's your hobbies? What do you do besides video? You golf?
No, I'm not a sports oriented person. I look like I play golf.
Or now, what kind of golfer are you looking like? Are you looking like John Daly? I don't know if you know, or he's all bearded up, or.
I mean, I've lost 50 pounds, but I look perpetually pregnant regardless.
Good.
So,
Right.
but no, my hobbies mostly consist of like I do independent filmmaking.
Right.
A lot of my time is spent doing that, like having meetings. I executive produce other people's projects around the country.
Okay.
A lot of that consists of like sitting behind a computer, kind of helping them in various different capacities. But most of my hobbies, if it's not hanging out with my kids, it's I'm making movies.
Nice.
Most of the time, like working on that. Like right now, we're in pre-production on our next 2 feature films, and then I'm trying to get some other things. I have a small role in a film that was shot up in Pittsburgh, and the filmmaker for that's trying to get a Kentucky premiere set up, so I'm trying to help him with that. There's a convention in October, and they reached out and they asked me to host a filmmaker panel, and then so I'm trying to get that all situated. So it's like that. Pretty much a majority of my free time is kind of set up. And if I'm not making movies, I'm watching movies. I come across as an extrovert, but really I'm more of an introvert. Like I'm a homebody. That's the one thing the pandemic showed me is that if I never have to leave the house, I would probably still be okay.
See, that'd drive me nuts. I gotta go. I'm always on the run as much as I can. Exactly. I guess like I said, I don't watch no TV hardly at all. I mean,
really?
Very seldom now.
Yeah. That's how my girlfriend is. Like, I mean, we have a mix, but before her and I got together, like, her TV never got turned on. So now it's like, one time we get together, we'll go out like walking in the woods or walking on a trail or something. Then the next time we get together, we'll watch a movie, So we're trying to like.
If you walk in trails and see an antler, make sure you pick it up and give it to old Travis, and maybe next time I see him, if you don't want it.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I don't think I've ever seen antlers just laying there, but maybe I'm not going in the right place. Like I'm assuming you have to go like out into the off the beaten path.
Oh, maybe not. No, the deer, they'll walk right down a path. There's, I mean, I got my backyard here. I guess live in a house with a regular yard. I got, houses beside me. I'm not in a complex, but
right.
And I've actually found an antler in my yard where deer walked through my yard.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, we have deer all over the place here, but I can say I don't think I've ever, unless I just wasn't paying attention, I can't think of a time where I just came across
an antler
antlers just laying there. Yeah. If I do, though, I'm definitely sending them your way.
Definitely. I hope it's a monster.
Well, and if a deer commits suicide in front of my car, I will send you those antlers too.
Hey, yes, that's exactly. Tell me you want that deer. So, I have people call me on stuff like that. If they hit a deer, like, hey, I hit a deer here. You want the rack? I'm like, well, yeah, I'll take the whole deer if you don't want it.
Right.
I ain't gonna let it go to waste. So, well, PJ, definitely, I appreciate the phone call and everything, and this was fun. And who knows what this will lead to? Maybe we'll get another one, and maybe I'll get down that way sometime here soon. So,
sounds good.
Oh, what do you have for supper tonight?
Oh, honestly, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm having spaghetti, so I didn't know what you
that
said.
Sounds good.
Yes, very good. So, with peanut butter and bread.
That is a weird combination.
Right.
Man, those were great. I'm not even sure which ones they were, but I'm sure they were fantastic. Anyway, so this has been another episode of Law Lite Podcast. Of course, you can check us out on all our different platforms of social media. We're on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and maybe somewhere else by now, but I don't know where that would be. If you need really good legal help, you can always reach out on fwhlegal.com. Call us at 270-4INJURY, and you can let us know what you got going on and if it's in an area that we can help. If not, we always or almost always direct you to someone who can. Until next time, take it easy.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery of a sham, of a mockery of a travesty of 2 mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!